All right. Hey, welcome back to What You Gotta Say. Now, before we begin on our topic, which I guarantee you it's going to be heated, let me let let me bring out the bane of the existence of every politician in North Jersey. He hails from East Orange. He's the star of the Eric Dawson Show. He is the CEO of Grandma Emma's. As you can see, Mr. ADOS himself, Eric Dawson.
Let's get ready to rumble.
And in the next corner.
How are you guys today?
Great, great, great. But before we do that, let's bring on the wise ones because we're going to need a couple of referees. Now, hailing from Central New Jersey, he is the imam of the Islamic Center of Ewing. He's also president of the Islamic Council of Greater Trenton. He's the co-chair of the United Mercer Interfaith Organization. He's the retired City of Trenton Director of Fire and Emergency Services. He's the first African American to be appointed to that position. Let's give it up for Imam Kaib Bashir.
Hello, everyone. All right.
How you doing?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
And the diva of the show. She's got more hats than a church lady going on an Easter parade. She's working now on her second doctorate. I think her fourth book. She owns a publishing company. She's a Reverend Doctor Army Major, our very own. Oh, by the way, and I can't tell you how high her ratings are on this show. Our very own Reverend Dr. Major Shellerine Lang.
Wow.
Glad to be here.
And last but not least, he is the king of the sweater vest because nobody can rock it like him. He is a veteran, and he is the only man on this show who can specifically tell everybody he's from Africa.
That's right.
Our very own Rabbi Seth Frisch.
Peace and love, everyone. Peace and love.
So, what all the excitement about is that we're going to do a report card. Now, we're talking about 30 plus days that Biden has been sworn into office. Now, we talked about what we wanted, and that got heated. But let's talk about what he's done so far. Let's dive into that right after this message. We'll be back in 2 minutes, 2 seconds.
To small business. That's a great way to have generational wealth. If you're a minority business, you may be struggling to keep your head above water. Why? In 2019, the Black community spent $1.5 trillion because the Black dollar lifespan, 28 days Asian communities, 19 days Jewish communities, 6 hours a month in the Black communities. Major brands target the Black media, TV, and radio. That's why Blacks are brand shoppers. That's why they get a big slice of that $1 trillion pie. Your business needs exposure. You got quotes from cable networks and local radio. They charge a lot of money for a little exposure. Networking and social media is a full-time job to get part-time money. Let's look at a successful Black business model. Remember Soul Train? It was a new Black TV show that Johnson Cosmetics increased the exposure of Afro Sheen and made billions of dollars for Bobby Johnson. Where are you gonna find a good show for a low price? We have a talk show called What You Got to Say. What You Got to Say is a Black-owned talk show streaming live on YouTube channels, Facebook Live. What You Got to Say has a diverse audience from 18 to 62 years old, and their gross income range from $32,000 to $122,000 a year. That exposure will get you a good slice of the $1.5 trillion. Tell us about your business. Maybe able to get on our Black-owned spotlight. In 4 weeks, your business can go from surviving to thriving. To find out how you can get what's yours, email sales@squiresignage.com. They're waiting to hear what you got to say.
Okay, we're back. So let's get into it. Last time we talked about Joe Biden, I think we almost had to get a breath, some CPR on Eric Dawson. Now, let's look at this. We're talking about over 30 plus days in office. let's give him a report card. What do you think? Says you, Dr. Lang.
I say he gets an A. I say he gets an A because he inherited some challenges. And I think what he's doing with the pandemic, I think transcends some stuff that has hindered the pandemic, and his focus on the marginalized communities, getting it out there. I think he's right in that we have a crisis in this country. And so for that point, and then you have the whole issue with the tension among blue and red and all this other foolishness and trying to unite. So he's got a lot on his hands right now.
Rabbi, what do you think?
Well, I share a lot of what Dr. Lang was saying, except one exception, of course, is that in his desire to work both sides of the aisle and try to create some kind of a working relationship of all the kids in the sandbox, I think he's losing a little bit of his momentum of what he actually needs to do, not what he wants to do. And I think we're going to lose some confirmations because he's going to bend to one particular senator who's going to basically throw the agenda. And I need him to be tougher than that. I don't want someone who's going to be this moderate. I need someone to barrel ahead and get help and relief to the American people and representation of all Americans in the cabinet and in the government. And I'm scared that he's just going to give up on that, which was one of the reasons I supported him, that he was so vehement and strong about bringing it forward. So I'm not going to give him an A. I'm going to tell you, Dr. Lang, I'm going to give him a B with a lot of hope.
Okay.
Okay. Iman.
Okay. I'm really optimistic thus far. He's only been in office for 30 days. I think that he's doing a terrific job. But in saying that, I also have some reservations and I also have some concerns. But based upon what he inherited and the things that he's done so far, I think he is doing a good job. I'm not going to rate it in terms of giving a letter, but I will just say that I think he's doing a pretty good job.
And let's hear it, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, we're measuring him based on the failure of his predecessor, right? And so the bar is so low that you can crawl over it, right? I mean, I think at the end of the day, people just wanted a lower sense of anxiety, right? They wanted some normalcy. They didn't want to have, a mean tweet every 30 seconds. And so all of that has happened. But the other things, we'll wait and see. I mean,
wait and see. We waited 30 plus days. What did we see? Now, I grant you, I think that is half true because not the fact that President Trump set the bar so low, because that was the reason Biden won the election. I mean, and not because President Trump did such a bad job, because that was the reason Biden won the election. But winning the election and keeping up with your promises, that's two different things.
And Vince, one thing that's very important to say here is we have a window, and I think Eric is kind of hinting at this. We have a window in order to get some of this done. Mm-hmm. And that window is 2 years. And I'm being generous when I say 2 years. It's really a year and a half, because if we can't get things done that all of us envisioned, all of us hoped for and prayed for, we wise ones, we have our prayers. All right. Okay. But wait, let me just say this. If we can't get it done in a year and a half, then it is lost. Okay. And so I want to say to you, hold on. I want to say to you, but to all of you, how long? How long? How long?
Okay. Well, no. Let's look at how long. He promised 1 million vaccinations a day for the first 100 days. Today, he vaccinated 50 million people.
Okay, big deal. I've got
big deal. These are low bars.
No. Listen to me.
These are very low bars.
Women.
I want to say this in witness.
We have women. We have women of color. We have tribal women. We have all kinds of people waiting to be confirmed. And one senator can't be controlled by an incoming president that's got 2 years to get this agenda done.
What was the vaccination number before Biden was elected?
Oh my goodness.
It was very
Zero.
low. It
No,
was
that's
very
not
low.
true.
It was-
It
it
was
was
Zero.
very-
900
Oh,
and
no,
something.
no,
That's
no,
not
no,
true.
no. It was,
Come
it
on,
was,
just
it was,
be
it was,
honest.
no,
Don't
no,
be
no,
like-
no. Actually, it was under 10,000. It was under
Yeah, it was low.
10,000.
It was low.
I'm gonna pull my-
And why was that? Because Trump had the plan, but he didn't put it into action. Then they find out not only did he did not have the plan for distribution, he didn't even have the vaccines.
I think a lot that's
Yeah.
different right now is transparency. There was a sense of being bullied or being pushed out of the truth. And so now at this point, there seems to be more transparency. There seems to be leveled playing field, and that the old plan, now they're starting to see that the old plan didn't work, and now they're making adjustments.
But
And
everybody
not
knew
only
that plan wasn't working.
Yeah, no, definitely, without a doubt. But I think also too, what's taking place now is that so many things have been said, positive things, mind you, but it's out there in the open. And I think you have a lot of people now that's going to hold him accountable, hopefully, to those promises. And also too, I think it's a certain amount of compassion that's being shown as well. And I like that in a leader. I like that in a president that can do that. So
I wanna-
what do you say?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I
No.
want to say this because it's important for us to speak factually, right? So this is from Bloomberg. It says Biden's 100-day vaccine goal was nearly met before he arrived. That's the headline, right? It says the U.S. Is close to administering COVID-19 vaccinations at a pace of 1 million doses a day, suggesting that the Biden administration's 100 million dose in 100 days goal may be a modest aspiration. That's what I'm saying to you.
Well, hold on.
No. But I want to go back because I asked you a
Go
very
back.
specific
No,
question.
go
You
ahead.
didn't give an honest answer.
Oh.
They were close to that goal already. And so the bar is so low. That's what I'm saying. And so now we're sitting here going, oh my gosh.
Here,
Wait, Eric, let's just
Eric,
make-
first
hold on,
and
Eric,
foremost,
let's make
first
sure
and
the
foremost-
people hears you.
And this
Wait,
is from
did I-
Bloomberg.
Wait, no.
This is from Bloomberg.
First and
Right.
foremost, I would not take the reference of a man who thought that he could buy the election. Second
Oh my God.
thing, the second thing,
Come
when
on
they
now.
got into office, they acknowledged the simple fact that Trump said that they had so many millions of vaccines in reserve, and there was none. Trump said that he had the distribution mechanism to happen, and it wasn't.
Now you're
Take
conflating
a
things,
breath.
though.
Setting
You're
the bar low. Setting the bar
conflating-
low was all of those naysayer Republicans.
But you're
Oh, he could do better
Oh my
because
God.
they wanted him to fail.
You're
Vincent, take a nitroglycerin pill
You're
right now. before
conflating
you
things,
know,
right? I
become
just want to
clear.
talk about the one question that I asked you. which
Let's hear
was
it.
what were the vaccination numbers prior to Biden? And you said almost zero, and that's not true.
That's
And
not,
I'm going to
that-
read
that's
another
not
paragraph.
true.
Wait,
And this is
But
what
they
else
were
it says in
It's
definitely-
Bloomberg.
close to true.
No, it's not.
No,
And this is what
no,
else it
it's
says
not.
in Bloomberg.
No, Trump-
It says
Trump
Biden's
bear-
goal. It
Go
says
ahead.
Biden's goal essentially is to not backslide.
okay. So I want to
See,
say one
and
thing.
that's great. I'm not.
Eric,
listen,
let
I
me-
think that
let me
that's
be
fantastic.
supportive of what you're
if we
saying.
meet
So
that
you're
goal.
saying that
But
there's
let's-
been no increase whatsoever? That's
Listen,
what
no,
you're
no,
saying,
but-
Eric?
No, what I'm saying is his
Okay.
goal of 1 million a day in 100 days. I'm saying that they were closer. They were at 900 some thousand a day.
okay. Wait, but
That was
but
the number.
But here's the thing,
I
Eric.
don't
We have
remember
to
that-
say to
that number being
Vincent.
that
That's
high.
what I'm
Eric,
saying. So
Vincent,
I'll-
listen to me carefully. When you say you wouldn't trust Bloomberg, it's not Mr. Bloomberg talking. He's not the one putting that information
Right.
out there. That is facts that
and
Eric.
here's the actual
that-
number. I'm gonna give you the
well-
actual number, Imam, because I'm reading the article. It
I'm
says
reading it too.
Biden's million shots a day goal underwhelms. Almost 983,000 doses a day were given in the week he was sworn in.
Can I ask a question?
900.
So I just want to insert something here. Okay,
80,000.
so
900,
let's look at this, right?
Go
Let's
ahead.
look at what the challenge is right now. The challenge is not the number of shots. The challenge is who's getting the shots.
Oh no, now I agree.
And so,
with you.
right. And so I think what Biden has done is he's made it more egalitarian. He's made it so that the people who need the shots are getting the shots. And so I think as we look at because you got to consider teachers should have been on the list. If we want to open schools back up, teachers should have been at the front of the line.
Yes.
There are people that should have been at the front of the line that were, he gave the onus up to the governors to say, we'll decide. And so I think what Biden has done is trying to make a game plan that everybody will know what's going on. So now governors know when they're getting the shots, when they're getting their supplies. So I think that's a little different.
Now, to go back under Trump's administration, with that 900 and something thousand that you were reading was a calculation of the 10% that they said out of the somewhere close to 90 point something million he was supposed to have had. None of that's been administered. That was all smoke and mirrors.
Yeah. So without a doubt, you have to say that there's been an increase, and also too progressively there has been an increase. So if the Biden administration stays on this pace, then we can see in the next 30 days there should be an even greater amount.
There you go.
But what I'm saying is,
let me just add something else.
Sure.
Too. Something else too that I think that, and I think Dr. Lang alluded to this as well, is that what we have seen in various states and around the country is that the Biden administration is encouraging various states to include the religious community. Just recently in my area, there's been there was at least 3,000 vaccines that was given and held exclusively for the mosques and for the churches and the synagogues. And that matter of fact, I got my vaccine. It was because of that program. And then now I am supposed to, which I have been doing, going to my congregation and letting them know, look, your leader took it. So hopefully it'll be less apprehensive.
But I want to ask you this question. But Imam, I want to ask you this question because we have to be really clear about this. And Vince and I, we talked about laying the blame where it belongs, right? And so some of this is Biden, and some of it is the governors, right?
Yes.
So we have to be really clear. We have to be. Let me finish, okay? Because, and I said this to you before. I'm willing to give Donald Trump all of the grief that he deserves, right?
But yet you give him nothing.
But when we were talking about all the deaths that were occurring, and everybody was laying the deaths at Trump's feet, and I was saying to you, we got to look at what the governors are doing. We got to look at what local municipalities are doing or are not doing in terms of enforcing social distancing and other things that they can do. Because those death tolls, they happen.
Eric, wrap it up.
And now what we're finding out in New York is what Cuomo did. Right?
No,
so
no. Now what we're doing is changing the subject with maximum sophisticated confusion. And let me quote the rabbi. It's bullshit.
Eric. So Eric, I agree that you have to look at the lateral move of the governors and the president. However, I will say that as the president, you are accountable for just as the leader. So like me as a chaplain, everybody.
There you go.
I'm going to have to take the onus of what I put out.
That's not true.
That is true.
The way our government is set up, the way our government is set up, each state, each governor. So
I have to push back from you. I have to push back. Let me tell you why, Eric.
As a cancer patient, I've been lobbying. I'm not with all of the underlying conditions that I have. Right. I'm not at the top of the list. And it was interesting. I was listening to an article today and they just started giving vaccines to Sloan Kettering in New York. Now, I get treated in New York and in New Jersey, but Sloan in New York will only administer vaccines to New York residents. So even though I'm I'm not blaming the president for that.
Oh no!
Wait a minute, and I'm telling you why. Because right now they're lobbying Murphy in New Jersey to give vaccines to Sloan Kettering in Basking Ridge. They're not going to Biden.
It ain't going to happen. Well, here, first thing we have to look at is this. First thing that we have to look at with the COVID virus and Biden. Biden gave support to the governors to make it move. Biden gave support to private businesses, including Rite Aid, Walmart, and everybody else who can do it to make it move. Biden gave it to the urban communities where they need it the most. And the worst thing about it, I spent all day Saturday in Temple University where they were doing it, and I saw nothing in line, but it shocked me to see this large group of white college students lined up to get their vaccine. So you can't blame that on anybody else. But look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about what Biden is doing specifically for African Americans with this report card. And we're going to do that in 2 minutes, 2 seconds.
To small business. That's a great way to have generational wealth. If you're a minority business, you may be struggling to keep your head above water. Why? In 2019, the Black community spent $1.5 trillion because the Black dollar lifespan, 28 days Asian communities, 19 days Jewish communities, 6 hours a month in the Black communities. Major brands target the Black media, TV, and radio. That's why Blacks are brand shoppers. That's why they get a big slice of that $1 trillion pie. Your business needs exposure. You got quotes from cable networks and local radio. They charge a lot of money for a little exposure. Networking and social media is a full-time job to get part-time money. Let's look at a successful Black business model. Remember Soul Train? It was a new Black TV show that Johnson Cosmetics increased the exposure of Afro Sheen and made billions of dollars for Bobby Johnson. Where are you going to find a good show for a low price? We have a talk show called What You Got to Say. What You Got to Say is a Black-owned talk show streaming live on YouTube channels, Facebook Live. What You Got to Say has a diverse audience from 18 to 62 years old, and their gross income range from $32,000 to $122,000 a year. That exposure will get you a good slice of the $1.5 trillion. Tell us about your business. May be able to get on our Black-owned spotlight. In 4 weeks, your business can go from surviving to thriving. To find out how you can get what's yours, email sales@squiresignage.com. They're waiting to hear what you got to say.
Hey, I'm Eric Dawson. I'm here with Vincent Squire, What You Got to Say. And we are joined by our three wise ones, Dr. Ashella Rain, Imam Bashir, and Rabbi Frisch. We're having a spirited, I don't know when they're not spirited, but we're having a spirited conversation as we're grading our newly minted president, President Biden, on his first 30 days.
On COVID, I give him an A+.
Generous.
Again,
he's
doing what he's supposed to do.
But the other one didn't.
Yeah.
That's the point. That's the point. 500,000 deaths because this jackhole decided to ignore the virus. 500,000 people who didn't have to die because he said you don't need to wear a mask. 500,000 people who are dead right now. No, we're not talking about sick. We're talking about dead because he downplayed this, knew he was downplaying it, and then went on to say, vote for me, I'm going to straighten it up.
But that all sounds good, right? But when you talk about the kids in Miami who had their spring break, who had a coronavirus spreader, that wasn't Donald Trump. When you talk about my friend who had a coronavirus,
I disagree. I disagree. No, Eric. Eric, you losing that like Trump's election, brother.
In Newark, New Jersey, where the mayor had to go and shut stuff down and identify days that things were going to be shut down. That
Eric,
wasn't Donald Trump. That was people
no,
deciding to live
their
their best life.
Eric, let me ask you a question. So you are the father of your family. You are the head of your family. You're the leader.
Correct.
If you put out some guidance and your children, let's say your guidance was this virus isn't real. I'm not wearing a mask. Y'all don't have to wear a mask either. As the father, as the leader, you send that message to your family. Your children decide Dad said it's not real. I'm gonna follow his guidance. It's still their choice to wear a mask, but the influence of who you are is going to change their decision.
I'm thinking.
Not a
I'm
doubt.
saying that you guys are giving.
No, I think
Donald
you-
Trump way
you-
too much credit.
No, I think you're giving them too much of a green light. Go ahead, Iman.
No, I know for a fact that's exactly what happened. I have, like I said, one of my sons is married to someone who they live out West Pennsylvania. She's, Caucasian. Her whole family in the surrounding area are Trump supporters. I've had discussions with them. He's had discussions with them. They do a lot of the things that they do because of Donald Trump. Period.
Boom. Thank
Period.
you.
No. I'm not.
Thank
That's
you.
Real.
Imam,
Thank you.
No.
Thank you.
Let us be clear. I'm not suggesting that zero people follow Donald Trump. What I am saying, however, is the person on Hawthorne Avenue who decided to walk into that chicken place where it had a sign that said no more than 3 people, and they walked in there. You can't blame that spreading event on Donald Trump. That's what I'm saying. So when you say 500,000,
No. Leadership has a huge play of how we govern and move in this country. When the leaders of this free world.
What about local leadership?
What
about local leadership?
No, forget local leadership for right now. Leadership, national leadership.
Wait a minute. I have a question for you, Eric.
Yes, ma'am.
As we talk about what the onus is of the leader. So
Right.
let's talk about January 6th. Let's talk about January 6th. Let's talk about the influence that leadership had on the behavior of people. Now, absolutely, it was their choice to do it.
Sure.
Who were they following?
Booyah!
So what I'm gonna say to you is this: I'm never saying that zero.
No.
people are
Answer
following
her
Donald
question.
Trump,
Who
right?
were they following?
They were following. Sure, they were following him. But what you're asking me really is, Eric, do you believe that no people follow Donald Trump? And the answer is
No,
I don't
that's not
believe
what I'm
that.
asking.
That's not what she said. No. That's not what she
I
said.
believe that some
Listen,
people
wait.
are influenced by him. Absolutely. But I believe that the majority of people, right? The majority of people are influenced at a more local level, whether it's in your home,
if that's the
whether it's in your
case,
neighborhood,
if that's
whether
the
it's your
case,
pastors,
if
Yeah,
that's the
okay,
case,
and
then
all
addendum.
those people, I
Let
think
me
that
add an
those
addendum. So let me add an
Governors,
addendum.
too.
Let me go to the next level. So let's look at the hearing,
right.
the influence that he had on whether or not he was even convicted. Let's talk about, because those people sitting in those seats were local on some level to those particular states. And the influence that he had over them determined how they voted. And so what I'm saying is that we don't have to give him total accountability, but what he says matters. What Biden says matters.
No. Well, those are two different things. Absolutely.
No, they
what he says
aren't.
matters. I'm
No,
not
they
saying
aren't.
that.
Okay.
Well,
I'm not disputing that.
Eric.
I'm simply
Okay.
saying when Vincent says 500,000 deaths are Donald Trump's fault, I'm saying that is intellectually dishonest.
That's not intellectually dishonest. That's been quoted by just about every newsprint and media subject in America right now.
Every left wing-
Because he
wait,
knew
wait, let's be clear about the newsprint.
He knew
clear.
about that
Come on,
disease 3
Let's be
months
clear
before it
about
hit
the
our
news that's
shores.
covered.
He
Okay.
knew it. He knew it.
You know what?
He knew
CNN
it.
and
He
NBC
knew
are
it.
banned from my house.
No. He
Eric,
knew
let
it.
me
Wait a
try.
minute. Well, here's the thing. Not
They
only
are
did he
banned.
know it,
Let me
not
try.
only did he knew it, but he even ripped up the book
Vincent,
Obama made called Pandemic for Dummies. So
Can I
he
change
knew
the
it.
subject? Can I
Vin-
change
wait,
the
no,
subject?
wait.
No. But what we are going to do is we're going to take a break and we're going to get back to
we're
the
not
original
gonna take a
subject.
break. We're not
We're
going
going to do that in 2 minutes,
No.
2 seconds. Love you,
You've got
Rabbi.
to calm
Sign
down.
off.
To small business. That's a great way to have generational wealth. If you're a minority business, you may be struggling to keep your head above water. Why? In 2019, the Black community spent $1.5 trillion because the Black dollar lifespan, 28 days Asian communities, 19 days Jewish communities, 6 hours a month in the Black communities. Major brands target the Black media, TV, and radio. That's why Blacks are brand shoppers. That's why they get a big slice of that $1 trillion pie. Your business needs exposure. You got quotes from cable networks and local radio. They charge a lot of money for a little exposure. Networking and social media is a full-time job to get part-time money. Let's look at a successful Black business model. Remember Soul Train? It was a new Black TV show that Johnson Cosmetics increased the exposure of Afro Sheen and made billions of dollars for Bobby Johnson. Where are you going to find a good show for a low price? We have a talk show called What You Got to Say. What You Got to Say is a Black-owned talk show streaming live on YouTube channels, Facebook Live. What You Got to Say has a diverse audience from 18 to 62 years old, and their gross income range from $32,000 to $122,000 a year. That exposure will get you a good slice of the $1.5 trillion. Tell us about your business. Maybe able to get on our Black-owned spotlight. In 4 weeks, your business can go from surviving to thriving. To find out how you can get what's yours, email sales@squiresignage.com. They're waiting to hear what you got to say.
We were just having a very spirited break period, which followed our very spirited conversation.
I
Guys,
think a very spirited
you
breakdown was more like it.
And Dr. Lang was trying to change the subject.
Too late. No,
Trying to change
no,
the
no.
subject.
But we are going to go back to the subject. So, Rabbi, you mentioned something about President Biden's cabinet picks.
Look, I got to recover from the first segment, but I am so worried about you, Vincent. So okay, I'll go there mostly because I really want to help you out here, and I want to help us all out. But I want to say to you,
Rabbi, if you ever see me in a fight with a bear, help the bear.
okay, that's
Wow.
very interesting, Vincent. Let me just say it's very interesting. Okay, let me just say this, that there is a certain amount of time that any president has, we could call it a honeymoon of sorts, in which a president has to push forward his cabinet picks, and not just the head of the cabinet, but various associates, is a very specific amount of time. And that time comes to an end.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, we've got some people, women of color, women who have freely expressed through their tweets, freedom of speech, criticism even. They have been very clear about who they are and what they think, and the president backed them. And yet we're kind of being held hostage by some people, even in the president's party, that don't seem to want to bend in or to go with the president's, should be his honeymoon. He should be able to pick his team. And so what I'm saying to you is we have a set amount of time, and I'm not sure this president, out of the interest of cooperation or both sides of the aisle, I don't know if he's going to push forward this agenda that many of us, Vincent, supported him in doing so, in becoming president.
What are you talking about? His agenda? Let's look at it. Let's start now. We were on to COVID, and we're not going to go back there anymore because everybody's going to be trying to get me a defibrillator. But let's look at him now appointing 4 female generals, 2 of them black.
Yeah.
Never done before. Let's look at him canceling that environmental bill that Trump stomped all over, allowing factories to go without even an emissions test. Now you say, oh, that's big money. What does that have to do with the black communities? What neighborhood of all these factories that are pushing out all this poison in?
No.
The black neighborhood. Hold it. I'm not finished. No. And here's another. No, that's not being intellectually dishonest, brother. In those factories in Newark, they aren't around the white neighborhoods,
There
bro.
are no factories in Newark.
Oh, that's true. They're going now.
What factories are left in Newark?
That's true.
He did admit
That's
that
true.
was gone. That was gone.
Yeah, they are going to Newark. But but the factories in other areas. Look at Pennsylvania. Okay, those factories are right in the black neighborhoods. Look, right next to where you used to be in Chester. Let's look at that. black neighborhoods. Let's look at let's
some of them are in black neighborhoods.
let's look
some
at let's
factories in black neighborhoods.
let's
but
look
they
at let's
also
look at let's
factories
look
in
at
poor white
Pittsburgh.
neighborhoods.
They
Let-
got factories in poor white neighborhoods.
They got
Yeah,
factories
they-
in poor white. This is
Yeah,
what I'm saying. You,
yeah,
can you
but
have
they're
these
more in the
absolutes
poor
that are
black
not true?
neighborhoods than they are in the poor white neighborhoods.
I don't know about that,
But-
Vincent.
I don't
because
know
we are
about
the
that.
minority in
Okay,
this
I'm
country.
telling you,
well,
go get
here's
that
another
one.
one. Here's
Listen.
another one. Here's another one. And something
I'm
that
telling you,
and something that Obama even stepped on. He now has the commission on restoration or restitution.
I got a good one. Let's
Yeah.
look at the fact that we are the wise ones and we represent the religious community. Let's look at the fact that President Biden reinstated, I will say he established the White House Office of
Chris.
Faith-Based and Neighborhood Partnerships. I think that's an interesting concept because it was in place for Bush, it was in place for Obama, it was
Yes.
out of place for Trump, it was
Yes.
in place for Biden, but we had a rise in evangelical support for a president who didn't even have his Office of Faith-Based Partnerships in place.
Oh, you expect a man who kicks people out of an area who are protesting, kick them out with tear gas and violence so that he could do a photo out with an upside down Bible to have a faith-based coalition? Really?
I mean, there's
I'm
definitely
just
been a
looking at
lot
what was
of,
said, what was presented, but then what the actions that came
Well,
behind it.
listen,
Yeah.
Vincent, listen. One thing that Eric said that is very important that I would like just to repeat, and,
Yeah.
and again, it's a sliding scale here, but you know, as Biden would say, the old guy, you know, the other guy didn't do his job. He didn't do his job at all.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, and Eric believes that, and you believe
Right.
that. But here's the thing. But Eric also said it's kind of a low bar here, folks. All he has to do is some things, and they seem amazing. And to Eric, I would say, no, he's done some great things. Even Dr. Lang just told us some amazing things that it's not just simply a rollover. But I think we can all agree that there is so much to be done.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that this government, which represents all of us, looks and appears like all of us and does for all of us. And if we're going to wait, let me just say this. If we are going to continue to give him high grades like Dr. Lang did, very, very gracious high grades.
Very gracious.
Very gracious. I don't know. You must have had a very well-balanced meal today because that
Maybe
was
it's because
great.
we're both from Delaware.
Okay. Well, let me just say this. I want this government not only to look like all of us, but to do for all of us. And
I
this is
agree.
where-
Here's a
this
question
is
I
where
want to ask you guys.
But now, here is the thing.
No,
Oh, by the way.
No,
Whoa.
I'm gonna get
Excuse
you a
me.
defibrillator. Be quiet
Yeah,
now.
okay.
No, Eric has
All
a
right.
question,
That's
Vincent.
it.
Eric
Yeah.
has a
Okay.
question,
Now
Vincent.
this is now this is what we're going to do. Now, oh, by the way, I want to thank Mark. Yes, it's reparations, not restitution. Now, the other thing, yes, in case you guys haven't noticed, I muted them. Now, moving on with that, and here's another thing that we actually have to consider. Having a cabinet, okay, and appointing people to make a more diverse cabinet to look like America.
But here's a question I want to ask before we do all this, right? Because to me, I want us to stay focused, right? Because there's a lot of stuff in politics that's done, like sleight of hand, distractions.
Eric,
stuff.
this is only an hour show.
Right, but here's the question I want to ask, right? So we all can agree on some level that Americans believe that our democracy, our very democracy, was at stake, right? That it was being challenged. All these things were. So as America was hemorrhaging during those 4 years and then needed to have its very soul restored, that patient, right, that's on the gurney bleeding out, what is the triage that needs to be performed? So all the things that you're listing, are those the things? Are those the most critical things that need to be addressed?
That's an excellent question, Eric. And I would say part of the triage that I see happening, and I love that language because it feels like it's a clinical need right now in this country, is that transparency and honesty. I think those are the things, those two things had to rise to the surface because people were confused. They were being fed so many different stories. So there needs to be a narrative that is transparent and that it's honest. And then there needs to be some egalitarian expression of leadership, right? Because the authoritative expression of leadership that we saw is not who we should be. It's not who we're designed to be. So that egalitarian expression of leadership where you now have people feeling like they can come to the table and have a conversation. I was struck by all the people who resigned, like very close to the end of that administration. But then, you look at all the people who are coming in, there's a diverse group of people who come from a diverse background. And so I think those two things at the forefront, I think that's what Biden is trying to do, to diversify the conversation, diversify the perspective, and then have a conversation that is more balanced. It's not just my way or the highway. What can we do? There's a fine line between tolerating a person and accepting a person. Toleration says, this is my space, I'll decide. Acceptance says, this is our space, we will decide. So I think the triage is that.
Okay, now to answer the question, because it's going off of the original question, the answer to the question is yes, we do need that. We need everything that she said. And so to make it even shorter, but also what we need is what he's doing. We need a leader who is not playing the smoke and mirrors and distracted by all the bull crap that's going on right now. The most important thing that Biden has done is stay focused to his promise.
So
I don't think Biden can do it by himself.
Right.
He needs people around him to help him.
Here's the thing that I think that we need to really understand.
Hold on. Eric, hold on. You're cutting off Iman.
Oh, I'm sorry, Iman.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of hard getting in here sometimes.
You got to get in there, Iman.
But that's good. No, but really, I think that the foundation that he has laid is a good foundation. One to be built upon, to bring back the honesty, to bring back the integrity, to bring back true leadership, and also to courage. And what do I mean by courage? Courage, look at the cabinet picks. Look at some of the speeches where here's a white man coming behind Trump, but at the same time is speaking about inclusion, speaking about diversity, speaking about the inequality that exists. So I commend him for that. And I think moving forward, he has already set the foundation. I think with his cabinet, I'm hopeful that we're going to see some good things.
But here's another thing he's done that I think is important. When he took office, he said, if I hear of anybody disrespecting somebody else, saying anything, being sexist, being racist, I'm firing you on the spot. I think that sets a precedence of no tolerance.
See, that's leadership. That's leadership. Oh, by the way, rejoining the World Health Organization, ending the previous administration restriction on 7 major Muslim countries, sworn in 1,000 new administrative appointees via Zoom, canceled permits for the Keystone Pipeline, created a new presidential appointee role for the COVID-19 response, and a new coordinator, launched 100-day mask wearing, extended the nationwide eviction foreclosure moratorium, strengthened the defense action for childhood arrival programs and executive orders. Oh, and my favorite, rescinding the 1776 Commission, rejoined the Paris Climate Accord, reverse components of immigration, enforce an expansion, and promise to unite those missing children with their parents.
And what can you argue about with that?
Let's hear it, Eric.
So
that was only 10 things.
Yeah.
Right.
Now he's up to 114.
Right. So again, I look at it in its totality, right? So these are things that he should be doing, some of them, right? So I don't give you, do the thing you're supposed to do. Don't ask me to reward you for that. That's your job, right? That's what you ran for office for, right?
No, but that's
I want
not
you to.
true.
No,
But
That's not
because
true.
if there was a
That's
Republican, if
not
there was a
true.
Republican or conservative in office, he's going to do the thing. He's going to do something completely different.
But
Trump, no. What about the things that Trump should have done that he didn't do? Not a person said a freaking word. But yet he's doing what he's supposed to do, and you're calling him an underachiever?
Right. Oh no. So here, and this is why I'm calling him an underachiever, right? Because you asked the question before the break, and I take issue with the term African American, right? Because I don't think that we're African Americans.
No.
I think that we are Americans who are descendants of kidnapped and enslaved Africans.
Tomato.
but it's
We
not
used to be
tomato,
called
tomato.
black, colored,
But the point is-
Negroid,
but the point
Negro.
that I- but the point that-
No. Oh, Nubian. Whatever you want to be for right
not
now.
gonna-
Go ahead,
I'm
and
not
be
gonna-
it.
Eric's
but I'm not
point.
gonna yell.
Wait, go ahead, Eric,
I'm not-
because I'm
I'm not
trying to
gonna-
hear
I'm
what
not
your
gonna try
point
to
is.
yell
Go ahead,
over
Eric.
But my point is this, right? So I'm measuring, I'm looking at that, right? Because that was a question that you asked. And so all of these other things, right, are things that you should be doing, right? These are just some things you should be doing. But the real issue, so when I asked the question earlier about what is the real issue with this country, right? All of those are things, right, that you can get to. But the real issue, right, around bottom people or Black Americans, there's been no legislation in his 30 days, not one piece of legislation.
Well, actually, it goes up tomorrow. The vote on the on the 1.9 trillion COVID-19 package.
No. But that 1.9 trillion, you said, and I'm gonna use your term, African Americans. That's for everybody.
Oh,
I'm
really?
saying- yeah, that's
What
for
is it that you would like to see?
That's for
Eric?
everybody.
What is it-
Oh,
I'm
what
saying,
is
I'm
it-
saying there's no legislation.
This is how we started.
There were a lot of executive orders, right? But we know how executive orders go, right? But no legislation. And here's the guy. And see, I hold him to his own words. Here's a guy who did an interview with George Stephanopoulos, and he said, I don't want to govern through fiat, through executive orders. I think that you need to work with Congress, right? You will work on both sides of the aisle to get consensus. And that's not what has happened in 30 days.
Okay, now,
Wait a minute. No, I don't want you to brush over that though.
But
It
Okay.
has not
but you
happened.
know-
Now,
but you
Eric-
know
And
why.
so the way
Okay, you're past your 2-minute time limit, Eric. In fact, you're 2 minutes 47 seconds. Go ahead, Rabbi Iman.
Yeah, but the question is why though? He passed some executive orders for a couple different reasons. One is for expediency. Another is because some of those executive orders would not have been passed if it went through Congress and the Senate. So he utilized his power to achieve something that he would not probably been not able to achieve.
I'm not
So,
suggesting
you
he
know,
shouldn't have passed the executive order.
So
I'm
what he's saying is,
the law. I'm saying you can walk and chew gum. I'm not saying, oh, don't pass the executive orders. I'm saying, but while you were doing that, there's no legislation, right? So there's no teeth,
30 days.
right? Because we saw what happened. What happened to Donald Trump's executive orders,
the same thing that happened to Obama's executive
right?
orders.
And so,
So-
I'm looking at
but-
this going, okay, so here we go again, more executive orders. I want to see legislation.
Wait,
Oh,
Eric.
well, you want to see legislation. Most of us just want to see the job done. Go ahead, Rabbi.
Well, look, all I want to say is that, a lot of the executive orders came about because they had to reverse executive orders from the
I
previous
agree.
administration.
Right.
That's,
I agree.
and I'm okay with that. And when you talk about holding him to his own, his own pledges and his own program, accountable, if you will, 30 days is pretty good. And I know that you were specifically talking about the African American community. I got that. But 30 days is pretty good to get a $1.9 trillion deal on the table and even introduced to either house in Congress. I will say that bill, and Eric, I want you to hear this from me, and I'm very sympathetic to a lot of what you have to say, but that bill really represents all shades of America, all corners, all genders. That bill is an amazing bill reflective of America. My problem is not that he hasn't been able to get anything out in 30 days, which I hear you. But my problem is that legislation may be held up by one guy.
Sure.
One guy. And that I'm actually going to the president right now and I'm saying to him, you better clean up that problem because you've promised to deliver. And I'm expecting that promise because it is necessary now for all of us. And that, and to that, I want to give him credit, but this is the reason I gave, in contradistinction to what Dr. Lang gave him an A, I'm giving him a B because I haven't seen the delivery yet, and I'm hoping for that delivery.
Here's one. Go ahead.
Okay, I've worked in city government. I was in the mayor's cabinet, and we would have our cabinet meetings, and there were sometimes things that we wanted to take to city council, but we didn't. You know why? is because we did our homework and we realized that we didn't have the votes to get it passed. So something was just sitting there. It would sit sometimes for months until we did our homework and actually, presented it till we got to the point where we had a majority on city council. Then we took it for
Thank
a vote.
you.
So that's probably what's happening with the Biden administration as well.
Okay, now here's something specifically for Black, African American, Negroid, Nubian, whatever you want to be called. ADOS. Susan Wright, appointed to spearhead the efforts towards rooting out systematic racism in federal agencies. Boom.
Great. That's great.
Let me get my little violin. Can you see it?
Excuse me. See, because of that action, Dr. Lang could be the next black general, female general. Now, because of that action, people who have been working in government, who have been oppressed and held back, now have an opportunity, so that they can use their talents and get the position for it, rather than their talents being exploited and some white person get the credit.
I will say, and Eric, and this is in line with what you're saying. I will say that prior to this new administration, the old administration in the military, they took out the photos. So when you say you're packing up for a job, you had to have a DA photo, and that certified who you are. So they took that component of the application out because they figured that part of the bias was seeing a brown soldier and seeing a non-brown soldier. And so there are some things. So I will say that there's some things that the previous administration did that was good. And this new administration is destined to take it forward.
Okay, here's another one, Eric. Re-examining federal funds to ensure equitable distributions in communities of color and low-income areas, and reimagine and investigate to make sure that equitable distribution in terms of government contracts.
Oh, it sounds good. It sounds good. See, like what I'm saying to you is that sounds great. Because I want to see the execution on it. Right?
He executed it. What are you talking about?
It reminds me sometimes when I was in.
It's an executive order, brother. It's already in place. It's happening.
All right. So
wait. Do you know how many things are in place, right? That haven't been executed? Like literally. So
look,
wait a minute. So my whole life experience here.
2 minutes.
The Constitution is in place. My whole life experience doesn't reflect what those words say. So it sounds good.
It means we still have some responsibilities.
I like
there you go.
We still have some responsibilities to make sure that it's taken care of.
Okay, now because
but the same responsibility that you're saying that we have from top down is the same responsibility that I was talking about at the beginning of the show, right? That same local responsibility pushing upward. Same responsibility.
Yeah,
but the next time we talk about local responsibilities, I'll be sure to add that in. For right now, let's stick to Biden. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back and find out what we have to do to keep our foot on the pedal, keep our foot on the gas, to keep going on and stop listening to all these naysayers saying he ain't doing nothing. We're going to do that in 2 minutes, 2 seconds.
To small business. That's a great way to have generational wealth. If you're a minority business, you may be struggling to keep your head above water. Why? In 2019, the Black community spent $1.5 trillion because the Black dollar lifespan, 28 days Asian communities, 19 days Jewish communities, 6 hours a month in the Black communities. Major brands target the Black media, TV, and radio. That's why Blacks are brand shoppers. That's why they get a big slice of that $1 trillion pie. Your business needs exposure. You got quotes from cable networks and local radio. They charge a lot of money for a little exposure. Networking and social media is a full-time job to get part-time money. Let's look at a successful Black business model. Remember Soul Train? It was a new Black TV show that Johnson Cosmetics increased the exposure of Afro Sheen and made billions of dollars for Bobby Johnson. Where are you going to find a good show for a low price? We have a talk show called What You Got to Say. What You Got to Say is a Black-owned talk show streaming live on YouTube channels, Facebook Live. What You Got to Say has a diverse audience from 18 to 62 years old, and their gross income range from $32,000 to $122,000 a year. That exposure will get you a good slice of the $1.5 trillion. Tell us about your business. Maybe able to get on our Black-owned spotlight. In 4 weeks, your business can go from surviving to thriving. To find out how you can get what's yours, email sales@squiresignage.com. They're waiting to hear what you got to say.
Welcome back. We're in the middle of a discussion in which there are seemingly polarized points out there, and just my own memory, knowing that the answers are rarely just one thing or another, but I sense it's coming from the top and it's coming from the bottom, and we have to meet it somewhere in between, and that's the only way we're going to get there. And as Dr. Lang said earlier on, we've inherited a lot of good things, and we have to pick that ball up and we have to move it down the field. Otherwise, if we do not, then it is going to fall apart. It's going to implode. And that puts a lot of onus, Brother Eric and Brother Vincent, it puts a lot of onus on us. Sure. Right here, us, local. Tip O'Neill once said, all politics is local. And we have to remember that.
Iman?
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of good things that are taking place. But I think that all of us, we have to be involved. We have to be engaged. So we have to give credit where credit is due, but at the same time, too, play a role, have some responsibility in terms of getting to the goal line. And I think that that's what we really need to try to focus on.
Dr. Lang.
I would say that the things that we inherited that were problematic, that it's going to take a lot more time to fix. The things that we inherited that were good, we can push it across the goal line, like Rabbi said. And then there's some new innovative things we need to do, because we are polarized. It's just the truth. And then people are fed lies. And now we've got to get to a common place. And that's going to take time. That's not going to happen in 30 days. And you can't please everybody. Everybody's not going to be happy with anything.
Eric.
Well, I mean, so, and what you said is very accurate, Doc. But those innovative things, those are the things that we really need strong leadership on. We don't need moderation, right? And I think that goes back to what Rabbi was saying earlier, right? So those hard things are things that I'm, looking to see if he can get done. I mean, because in the end, that's what he ran on, right? He said, right. I'm the guy who can go on both sides of the aisle and I can get the tough stuff done. Right. So these things that we're talking about now, these are not tough things. I want the tough things that need to get done if they can get done, right? If he has the courage to do them, are gonna be the things that make a difference. And so that's
accountability is the only way to get there, Brother Eric. Yeah. Accountability is the only way to get there. We can't afford to have him go off and say, I'm the president, I'm in the Oval Office, I'm in the mansion, while all you are out there bringing in those bales of cotton out. You can bring him in all you want, and I'm just separate from you. If he is not working for us in the way we look, South Carolina was his firewall. And he owes America. He owes Black America. He owes all of us something. And you know what? Unless he does it, we got nothing.
But this is what we have to.
Vincent knows that all I can say is Mr. Clyburn said a different story when he was asked. He said Biden doesn't owe anything.
Exactly.
Those are words out of his mouth.
Well,
those are the things that scare me, right? Because I saw life actually breathe into this man and into his campaign, right? By that firewall. And then that guy, that leader, stood up and said, you don't owe me nothing.
That's what he meant.
I don't think that's what he meant. And there are certain things in messaging. One of the things that got those 4 women promoted to general, is that Biden knew that if he put it in there, since it was still open and Trump was still in power, he would have filled those positions. There are certain things that seasoned politicians know what to say and what to do. And when you start and when to do it.
Yeah.
Now, well, we're at that time, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, this is the fastest hour on streaming media right now. Stay tuned. We should be hitting Roku in 3 weeks. So, first and foremost, I want to thank the three wise ones, Reverend Dr. Lang, Rabbi Frisch, and Iman Brashear. I love the simple fact that you substantiate the point that I like to bring myself around and hang around and talk to people who are far wiser than me. And you all are very much, and you prove that every week. Eric Dawson, Mr. ADOS.
Hey man, this is great. I mean,
we're gonna have to find some democratic mind control hypnotism for you, so you could be like Democrat Anon, like the QAnons. But
I don't trust either of them.
That's terrible.
I can tell you, I trust one less than the other, maybe, but I don't trust either of them.
But
they're both two wings of the same dirty bird.
Well,
okay. Wait, hold on.
We're closing the show.
Listen,
this show is over.
We are the Apollo of the wise ones. The Apollo Theater on 125th.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching our show. Now, what I would like to say is this: I agree with a lot of what everyone has said, but you also have to look at this. We have now come out of an administration where the leader of the free world did very little for his people. He did a lot for his own people, but very little for his people. Now we have a leader who says that he wants to do something for everybody. And in his plans, in his 100-day, in his administration, on his website, he has made one of the most comprehensive and all-inclusive plans I've seen in any presidential administration in my lifetime. But this is what we have to do. If we want it to get done, we got to have his back. Let's start calling up those senators right now, because this COVID-19 bill is going up tomorrow. Start calling them and tell them to forget the partisan bull crap and pass that bill. Start calling them and telling them that you want to get better. Start calling them and telling them that you need to increase the vaccine. Start calling them and telling them that you want your children to go back in school, but you want to make sure that the teachers are safe as well. Let's stop talking about it and start getting in their faces. After all, they can't be in the office without us. It's time that we start taking back our power. I'm Vincent Squire. Stay safe. If God's will, we'll be back with the wise ones to discuss It's All About Sex with sexual therapist, family counselor, relationship therapist, Dr. Joseph Nines. Next week is going to be all about sex. All right. God bless you. We'll see you.